Welcome back to the latest episode of FYI, a voter education and since medyo malapit na election agitation series. Pag-usapan natin the Senate race. Wow, one of the biggest development recently is former Vice President Lenny Robredo, no? It's okay, they don't need to see me. Former Vice President Lenny Robredo endorsing Manny Pacquiao, Alianza member, and other Alianza member, former DLG Secretary Abalos. I don't know if the Mark Oleta one counts as like a... What is it? Is this the Big Ten tactical voting we're talking about? What could be the logic? And my understanding is that Lenny still matters on so many levels because your survey, for instance, said that 6 out of 10 ay natutot ka sa kanya, the one that got away. And in Visayas, almost 8 out of 10, 77% or something like that. Yeah. See, I mean, I even memorized the numbers and the geography. That tells you Lenny still has a lot of political capital and it matters if you're endorsed by Lenny, especially if medyo nasa dulo ka na and maybe a few percentage points makes all... I mean, is your read that, ang read mo ba dito, is this a vote of, is a form of Big Ten tactical alliance? Although I don't know the Mark Oleta angle, but I can clearly see the Pacquiao angle and all. And then what is your read of how Lenny explained it? Kasi the Pacquiao one at least more is like, mabait siya sa akin, we have good rapport. It was not more like, alam ko pag si Pacquiao nandyan sa Senado, he will vote on the right side of history. Like, so, again, was that a strategic silence that makes sense or a strategic silence that may not be enough? Because we also saw many pink were not happy with that.
Yes.
I saw like this is a guy who said this about the LGBT community. This is a guy who has the absentee record in... although if I were Lenny, I would say, well, wala na yung boxing career niya. So siguro hindi na siya mag-absent, di ba? Like, what is your read of the whole Lenny endorsement thing?
Yeah.
In light of your survey.
Yeah. Makita natin no si Pacquiao in the last WR numero survey, yung aming April survey, he's declined, no. So actually nasa number 14 na si Manny, no. So medyo in danger,
medyo
no?
similar din kila
and then si Benhur Abalos, no, has always been medyo hindi nakakapasok yan ng Magic 12, no. In our last survey, he's at 18 to 19, no.
Oh, wow.
And he's never moved, parang ano lang, no change, no. Medyo consistent in the past performance, no. So definitely, if I were, Pacquiao and Abalos, an endorsement from the Vice President would be really helpful. Kasi nga, as you said, Richard, in our survey din noong April, tinanong namin, sino ba yung may regrets na, nagsisisi.
Totgang tawag ko dyan. Totka vote.
That, they think now na mas naging mahusay sana si Lenny na president, no, compared to Bongbong Marcos. And you got 6 in 10 Filipinos saying that they agree na, Lenny would have been a better president than Bongbong. So malaki. Meron siyang nakukuha ngayong, kumbaga, may endorsement, power. So, it makes sense for these two na nangangailangan, especially if you're nasa dulo, big push to, di ba? But I guess ako bilang observer din, marami pa din akong questions, no? Kasi it makes a lot of sense for Pacquiao and Abalos, no?
But what makes sense does it make for Lenny?
Or worried ako halimbawa doon sa kanyang mga allies, no? Halimbawa, Senator si Kiko and si Bam, di ba?
You mean they'll take away vote from them?
Diba? Kasi sila yung magkakalaban, di ba? So medyo
for the last spots.
Yes. But I think mas yung worry ko actually or yung mas question ko ay feeling ko dapat hinarap nung ni Vice President yung mga botante at nagpaliwanag. I'm actually a fan of a Big Ten politics.
We have been talking about the tactical voting.
In fact, I demand that that's the way for us to go, na kailangan natin mag-tactical coalition. Halimbawa, in my personal vote, no, the vote I'm going to make is that, number 1, boboto ko ng mga tingin ko represents my politics well. But number 2, I'm also voting for senators who I think will decide on the basis of evidence for the impeachment trial. Right. So yung mga aliado ni VP Sara, medyo I want to make sure that medyo mahirapan sila makapasok sa Senate. And that means that I will have to vote for...
You mean people who are basically going to be partisan completely, 100% in their vote?
Diba?
Right.
So ibig sabihin nun, hindi lahat ng iboboto ko pasok sa politika ko. Some of it will be tactical because I also care about the impeachment trial, di ba? So
Because which is a core issue
Yes.
to you. So still, it's an important core issue.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
Wish ko siguro, for the Vice President, she should have explained it that way. Is this, di ba? If this is something tactical, makakasama po natin sila para sa impeachment or kung ano mang laban. I would have appreciated na marinig yun, no?
So it wouldn't be enough for her, I don't know, I won't use the word impresario, but like, I don't know, for sympathetic thought leaders to articulate that. Hindi kaya mas maganda, Lenny still keeps a little bit above the fray and then let the others do the explanation. Yung mga partisans niya or yung mga people who are unofficial spokesmen for her. Di ba parang gano'n? You can also do that Kasi baka Lenny
May
says
division
too
of
much.
labor.
Baka she says too much and it comes off as cynical and Machiavellian. And suddenly, because the tactical one is always dismissed as, this is too Machiavellian. So maybe it makes sense also for Lenny to keep it at that level or for Lenny to wait for the reactions and then assess because we're still removed from the elections a week or so. And I don't know, I saw some numbers that says up to 20-25% of voters still decide on the election day, right? So again, I'm trying to see always the logic, right? We're trying to be fair to the actors instead of making a final judgment. From Lenny's perspective, I can see now it makes sense for her assess the reaction and then, or wait for the, the other people to make the explanation because she still has to be above the fray figure, etc. But all I can say is that we have seen that with Lenny in 2022. She had a big tent. Binay was there. Zubiri at some point was there before he switched to the other side. Kayo po, Professor Ranjudrai, what is your numbers on the latest survey? Is it tightening towards the end? Who's up, who's down? Kasi Pacquiao, Abalos, Tolentino, Bam, Kiko, Camille, Aimee, Willie Revillame. Itong 8 yung medyo, almost in, almost not there. And then Philip Salvador, the dark horse of the race, all of a sudden after the whole ICC drama.
Ginaya mo kasing sayaw pinasikat mo kasi.
But that was in February, so I don't know how can I be blamed pa rin.
Di ba?
Pinaligan yata, nag-trending
Yeah, so we did a survey April 10 to 16, and if you refer to table 1, the 3 images that come out. Number 1 is that it's the contest is tightening, yes,
right,
but it's still dominated by the administration slate Alianza.
Like 8 out of 12, 7 out of 12.
Right now, technically, statistically, every single member of the Alianza slate, including those that have, including the 1% that left, has a statistical chance of making it. So just to give you an idea, the last in the state counting, Camille Villar is number 12 at 30.4.
She went down or she went?
She went down.
She went down, right? Yeah.
She was 11, ranked 11.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but in the state counting. So that's the image number 1. It's Alianza dominated, and if the survey is correct, they're not just going to win; they're going to win big. So that's the first thing. If the elections were held during the period of the survey, the administration state would win big.
Despite all the sympathy
Despite
factor
all the
and everything
noise
we
and
discussed.
everything, it's likely that only 2 members of the candidates from the opposition will make it.
Whichever opposition this is.
Yeah, whichever opposition
exactly,
this is. No? And it's likely that also number 2 image is that while the 2 opposition candidates are possibly Senator Bongo, who topped our survey at 64%, and Bato de la Rosa, by the way, who has improved his standing in our survey, is now number 3. 4,
which is also similar to others.
He's number 5 or 6,
Yeah.
similar to other surveys at 40%. Now, just to give you a sense, the third image here is that the so-called tactical alliance, the Dilaws and the Reds coming together, I don't know if that's true, but Bam Aquino is now in the top 12 for the first time in a year.
In the straight.
Yeah, straight, He's number 9.
9 na siya. Yeah, exactly,
and that's
very
incredible for somebody like him who started very far away, number 18, 19. So, and a second is that Kiko Pangilinan is not so far away from Camille Villar. If Camille Villar is 30.4, Kiko Pangilinan is 30.3. It's not even a percentage.
Yeah.
So basically, everybody's tied for the 11th and 12th spot, in some sense.
So how many people are fighting over the last spot basically here?
About 7, including Philip.
Exactly, yun nga I'm saying. Like, it's crazy.
7 people.
Yeah,
So,
and Mark Oleta and Gringo are just knocking at the
Yeah,
door,
and
right?
Mark Oleta and Gringo are knocking at the door. So we don't know the impact. Because
Oh my
think about it. Benher Abalos,
Yeah.
this survey did not measure
The Lenny endorsement. Oh, maybe
This
he'll
survey
get a
did not
bump.
measure Inday endorsement of both Aimee and Congressman Villar. This survey did not measure the upswing in stories against of candidates who are pro West Philippine Sea, like Tolentino. That was a resurgence of discussion on the West Philippine. And then in our survey, in our latest survey, first week of April, the one we discussed earlier, we haven't released the report, but 18% of Filipinos think the West Philippine Sea is an issue for the election, that they will vote for
So
candidate.
that could be a big difference.
So you see all of these things put together in the final 2 weeks, the ground game, the machinations of the administration, the networks of support everywhere, the resources being.
Yeah.
So, if you're not with administration, baka mahirapan ka, no? Pero si Ben Hertz at si Tolentino still have a statistical chance of making it.
So theoretically, some of the more alanganin members of Alianza could still make it and make it even a straight 10-12.
Yeah.
Because they might get both a machine boost and a Lenny bump.
Yeah, and ironically, a Lenny
bump.
Yeah.
So like the next thing you know
But
is...
it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at Bicol's voting history, I mean, the last 2 elections now, they seem to be block voting in some sense. They will be voting for their own regional support, regional champions or candidates. And Lenny is like the leader of Bicol. It's 4 million votes, man. If she's able to say, okay, all Bicolanos, please it.
Southern Luzon.
No. Just Bicol
Just the
lang.
Bicol
Let's talk
region,
about Bicol. That's the black box, Bicol and
It's
Visayas.
huge. It's huge.
It's huge. If you look at the Visayan region, it's about 3 million votes.
She has huge following there and support there,
Just the Bicol lang muna. Let's talk about that. It seems wise for those who don't have any endorsement power or is not being endorsed by anyone to get an endorsement from somebody like her, who will ensure some votes in Bicol area. Because it's an open field. I don't think they'll be voting for the opposition there. I think they'll be voting for candidates endorsed by Lenny. And so it's a wise choice. As it is a wise choice also, we'll find out in the next survey. There's one more survey left for both WR and
Wait, the last survey will be 1 week before elections? Or
about a week before election. It will come out, but it's been done already. So it will cover the last week of April.
Right.
So that's going to be the end all and be all for Okta. If we don't get it right there, then
but as we said, many people decide on the election day itself.
Yes,
and with
and
margins
so
of 0.00201, like
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Less than 1%.
It's really hard. It's
To
too
predict,
close to call at the moment. So we have to measure the impact of the endorsements, both Lenny and Inday's. So we'll see that at least for Okta by May 4, May 5. Yeah.
What about you? Are you guys coming out something that may capture the Lenny bump or
Yeah, because like similar to the to Okta, yung last survey namin covers the last week of April.
Yeah, so we'll
Diba?
get to see how.
And I imagine medyo siguro lahat ng firms medyo yung last week ng April.
Yeah.
So it's actually
That's
done.
a reputational survey.
Yes.
Everything is
doon na magkakaalaman.
I hope we do well because we're not extolling Okta or W, it's extolling the science here. Diba? And giving confidence the everyday Filipino that you don't go for haka kuro-kuro
It matters.
or kalye surveys, but you go for
denialism. I don't accept it because
you accept science for what it is, and the statistics is a science, and surveys are a science.
But it's still a snapshot. Let's not forget.
Yes,
it's still a snapshot. Like people again, 2 weeks before is different from the election.
Yes.
The final survey is the election day pa rin.
Yes.
So will you guys do exit polls?
we don't do that here
Yun
because it's very
sayang
expensive.
Yeah.
It's
But that matters, naman yung exit polls.
Maybe
Kasi
now
dun,
it's possible to do it because the response rate would probably be higher.
Right.
Before the regular telephone, the landline, the response rates I was told
low,
were very low. So
mahirapan ka
It's
statistical
the science is the science of exit poll doable.
yes,
It can be
cost.
done.
yes, of course.
Maybe if we do it together or something, but it's the
cooler
cost, it's the logistics,
Yeah, the cost.
because the respondents, the diba, if you look at the surveys, malaki na siguro 2.5, diba, parang 2001-8. But an exit poll para maging relevant siya in our elections, you maybe need 30,000, 50,000 respondents.
Yeah,
Baka mag-pool
process.
resources
So,
na lang kaya lahat ng survey agency. That will
So
be
that's
your
very
tactical coalition.
Ikaw naman, hindi pa nga tayo can you imagine we have no aggregation
Yeah,
exercise?
I know.
Today,
yeah.
in the United States, there are
Yeah,
agencies
exactly.
that just aggregate what other polling. So maybe,
Real clear world
WR
in
can come
favor
together
natin.
in the last.
That-
Kasi I think
that should be the
we shouldn't
future.
have this idea of competition, but more collaboration. Kasi lalo dito, academic communities na
Co-opetition, cooperative competition.
Yeah,
That's the term. Yeah.
Epistemic communities have to work together
Yeah.
to make sense of, public perception. Now, this is a very important election. And they don't count out Philip Salvador. He just
No, I am
knocked on the
not.
door,
I just said, he's
Yeah.
like the ultimate dark horse.
And Marcoleta, by the way.
He's
Just to give
knocking
you a
on the
sense,
door.
In Marcoleta today, in our survey, is 19.3. Yeah, he's out of the
But
statistical.
still a huge
but
bump, yeah.
because he's part of the Iglesia community.
Yeah.
You can imagine if
And
they
he's
jump
getting-
everyone and just vote for Marcoleta, he needs at least 2 or 3 million votes. And I think he
can
can
get that. Yeah.
get that over the next few weeks.
What's also important nga to point out is that yes, of course, the surveys are scientific, pero it measures the market vote.
Yeah.
We shouldn't forget that it measures
machine,
the popular vote.
Yes.
Pero yung machine vote and very
Hindi
interesting
ma-capture.
may mga nagpo-post na. Actually, gusto ko encourage, no? Gawa daw tayo ng thread ng mga sample ballots at the
Yes.
local level. Because we want to see
Right.
anong play ng
Yeah.
endorsement sa local
Yes.
level Kasi merong mga, 7 alyansa, and then
Yes.
pasok mo si Kiko Bam, and then ganito.
Mga
and then
permutations.
Permutations. That's gonna matter lalo na sa dulo
Yes. Yeah.
At
Every
the end
vote
of the
counts.
day,
Yeah.
yung mga
Every vote.
yung machine votes na yan, and it's hard to capture in the survey. Kagaya nung kay
Yeah.
Marcoleta,
Yeah.
kapag ka nag-block vote or flock vote, ako naman.
Or flop.
Flock vote. Can you imagine,
yeah,
they
diba?
just say, don't vote for anyone
Exactly.
except Marcoleta.
Yeah.
That's going to really have an impact on everyone else who are expecting that kind of support. But let's bring people back in. Kasi with the tendency among analysts to think that, Filipino voters are not intelligent. They're like flock of sheep. That, the
That
machine-
myth of Botanya,
myth
the
of
horrible
Botanya. No, that they can just be
elitist
manipulated.
nonsense. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, if we encourage voters to vote wisely, to vote people who are not just, people who are popular, but people who have, track
Merits,
record,
yeah.
who have performed, who will continue to be good leaders, no? Who have no, how to say this, have no case of corruption against them. So I think the voter education should continue the way the show is supposed to be voter education at that.
And agitation.
And agitation. We have to agitate
Be
the voter
responsible, like,
first to vote,
yeah,
come
yeah,
out
yeah.
and vote.
Yeah.
Close to 40% of our voters are below 25. About 33% are below 24 years old.
Oh, so Gen Z
I
and
learned that from
Alpha.
your own, from your own ABS-CBN, the clip.
So Gen Z,
Halalan
yeah.
101.
Gen Z. And then if you add people below 30 years old, they're close to 40% of the vote.
Oh, wow.
That's people who are
Yes.
a little younger than Cleve. Okay, but the thing,
And
a
not
little
too much
than
younger,
you, by
by
the
the
way.
way. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh.
Fake news.
Yeah, but the more
Voter education.
informed they are, the more likely that they'll be empowered,
Yeah.
and the more likely they'll choose. Now, what do you see from our survey? Willie Revillame is going down. Nothing against Willie Revillame.
Interesting, no?
But
Okay lang,
people
professor,
are,
against.
no, I'm not against him personally. But I think there are people are saying that there are other more competent
Yeah.
candidates. So it's going on. Philip Salvador has hit a wall to some extent, no? Kasi, after the big surge of March,
Consolidation lang yun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but don't say consolidation lang. Now, our data is showing that even independents are voting for Bongo. So this is a phenomena. Bongo
But
has
Bongo was
escaped-
always the more
Yeah, he's
expansive
more
case.
He
inclusive.
appeals,
Yeah,
he
fairness
appeals to
naman,
yeah.
broader.
Fairness
So,
naman.
this phenomenon has to be studied more closely. But I believe that there will be a regional vote. I believe that political machines will provide votes. But in the end, the everyday Filipino voter can change the direction, the magnitude of this election forthcoming if they're empowered, if we continue to, let them know that what they do as individuals is more
Matters.
important than any political party, than any political movement can do in this to make progressive politics be realized in the next election. Yun lang naman, that individuals matter and voters matter.
On that clarion call, I wanted to ask about Aimee and Camille, but that will be another 24 hours of discussion, so maybe we can just zoom that later on. Thank you so much to both of you for that really fantastic interface of what is the data, what is the context, And what are the prognostications? And normatively, anong dapat gawin natin? After all, this is a voter education series. We're not here to tell you who to vote for, but we're here to tell you what is a more ideal and realistic option given the circumstance of our country. So thank you very much, Prof. Cleve and Prof. Ranjit, for that fantastic discussion. Join us again soon with the notorious group of people, especially Secretary Ronald, among others, to discuss ano yung mga, I think doon ko na lang ilabas yung IME and yes, I believe that. So, we're done with our respectable guests. We're gonna transition in our next episode to the even more respectable guests. On that note, thank you very much.